Dutch people, we need to talk. As someone that's been living here in the Netherlands for the past few years, I definitely recognize there are things that should not be taken for granted in this country. Now don't get me wrong, I understand when you're from the country, there are just certain things that are just normal, things you're just used to, and try to really be aware to be appreciative for these different things. Sometimes you just need an outside perspective to make you aware, and that's what I'm here for. So, I know you may be wondering now, what are these items that Sam's talking about that can't be taken for granted here in the Netherlands? Don't worry, I wouldn't make you wait. If you're taking this, or 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 this for granted, stick around for the conversation. All right, first thing I want to talk about in terms of things you should not take for granted here in the Netherlands is the lack of societal pressure to have more. Now, what do I mean by that? Basically, in the US, you feel this pressure to have more, whether more in your bank account, the latest car, bigger home, more in your career, etc. And that's a lot of pressure to live with in your lifetime. Whereas I feel like here in the Netherlands, people are more content with what they have, they live more of a modest lifestyle, and they focus more on friends and family. You know, in the US, we have this phrase called keeping up with the Joneses, which basically means when you're trying to have everything to keep up with everybody else. And I feel like a lot of people definitely fall into that lifestyle, and you should definitely be appreciative if you don't have to deal with that. Now, the next point I want to talk about in terms of things that should not be taken for granted in this country is convenience. I don't think Dutch people realize how convenient some of the things are in this country. I mean, for my people in the US, they have a thing out here called your VSN number, which is like your social security number. And with that, you just provide that to any kind of like administrative task you're doing. You give them that number, and they're able to pull up all your information. At one point, I went to the orthodontist to get the Invisalign. Shout out to the orthodontist, I'm really happy with my teeth. But I gave them my number, and right away, they're able to see all my insurance information and all that without me providing anything. In the US, you really have to do all these things one by one. You have to like provide them all the information. But out here, it's just made so simple. There's also this app that you could just log into called your DigiD, whatever, I don't know, I forget the name of it. But basically, with that app, you're able to log into like all your different like administrative things just through an app. It's really cool. Holy ball in our back. They're back. All right, point number 3 I need to touch on is safety. Here in the Netherlands, it's a really safe country. Now, I know for people here in the Netherlands, there may be areas that they'll be like, oh no, this is not that safe. I got news for you. If you think some of the places here in the Netherlands aren't safe, you wouldn't make it a day in some of the neighborhoods in LA or Chicago or New York City. Now, don't get me wrong, obviously things happen everywhere in the world. I'm not trying to say nothing can happen to you. But in general, the safety here in this country is top notch, for sure. Now, time for the next point, and that's how clean it is here in the Netherlands. You know, in the US, any major city that you're in is gonna have a lot of filth, a lot of trash. You think about LA, New York, San Francisco, etc. Like these cities, I'm sorry to break it to you, but these cities can be filthy. Now, I'm here right now in Amsterdam, and this is, compared to those cities, such a clean city. And the other parts of the Netherlands, the more low-key neighborhoods and more low-key cities are so clean. And that's something that I really appreciate. You know, I never understood like why people like to throw trash on the streets. Like, why do that? And luckily here, that's just not a thing that's very common for people to just really trash a city. Now, don't get me wrong, there are places here that may have some trash and it may get a little dirty, but in general, the country is very clean. It was very common for me growing up to see lots of trash on the highways, you know, in California, or just having very filthy areas, a lot of homeless people. I don't mean to talk down to homeless people, but just being honest, that was very normal for me. So coming here, it's like literally a breath of fresh air. Just popping in here real quick to say, if you're enjoying this video, please like and subscribe and leave a comment. Thank you. Now, point number 5 is the public transportation here in this country. As you see behind me, it's very good, very on time, very clean, just very reliable. There's been some recent problems with strikes and everything, so maybe it's not the best time to make this point, but in general, public transportation here in the Netherlands is very good. You don't need a car. I mean, we have a car, me and my girlfriend, but it's just mainly for her. I never use it. Actually, I don't use it at all because it's manual and I only know how to drive automatic, but that's beside the point. I get by perfectly fine just using public transportation here in this country. It gets me to all the different places throughout the country. Matter of fact, I did that whole week in the Netherlands trip, as you may see on my channel, all with public transportation. So Very, very reliable. That's definitely something that should not be taken for granted here in this country. Now, Dutch people, what you definitely don't want to take for granted are the roads here in this country. Now, once again, growing up in California, you would be so surprised to see some of the roads that I've driven on in my life. I'm talking holes on the streets, dips where your car is just like smashing down, just really uneven. A lot of bad roads. That's something that I was used to growing up driving in. But coming here, I noticed that the Dutch definitely take care of the roads. So that's something that's very nice to have, reliable roads. Don't take this for granted. All right, next item for me to talk about that you should not take for granted is the tap water here in this country. You know, growing up for me, it was very common for me to ask people when going to their homes, hey, is this water safe to drink? But here in the Netherlands, you typically don't have to worry about that at all. They have some of the best tap water to drink, no matter where you're at. For example, out in public, next to this thing. Lekker. All right, we're gonna finish this video with this beautiful sunset, beautiful background here behind me. And the last one I wanna talk about is the government assistance here in this country should not be taken for granted. Now, I don't know all the ins and outs. I know people probably comment and critique what I say about this, but I would say one thing that I have seen and what I've experienced is that you'd be very hard pressed to get left behind in this country. You rarely see homeless people out here. That's something that obviously the people are paying for with high taxes in this country. But in general, it just seems like everyone, for the most part, is able to have just like kind of their basic needs met. Now, once again, I'm trying to be careful what I say about this because I know people are gonna rip this apart like, no, this, that, blah, blah, blah. But compared to the US, your basic needs, the assistance you get from the government is way, way better than what you would experience back in the US. Once again, I know you're paying for this as well with higher taxes in the country, but I think it definitely gives a lot of people peace of mind knowing that if it comes down to it, they'll get some of the help that they may need. All right, that was my list of things to not take for granted here in the Netherlands. Hope you enjoyed the video. For my Dutch viewers out there, let me know if this kind of made you realize like, oh wow, okay, yeah, we should be thankful for these things, or we should not take for this granted, or maybe these are things you already weren't taking for granted and this video was just pointless. Who knows? But I just feel like these are things that were worth pointing out to make you guys realize like, hey, this is pretty good that we have this. And for anyone that's not from the Netherlands but now lives in the Netherlands, let me know if there's other things that you want to point out that are like, whoa, this should definitely not be taken for granted based off of where you come from and what you've experienced here. Now, stay tuned for the next video, as I always say. Peace.